Before you survive secretive labs, challenge the streets, or just take a peaceful walk on the shoreline, you're gonna bleed on customs. Howdy folks, and welcome to this new Tarkov Lore series. We'll be covering each map in depth, whether that's the design, atmosphere, gameplay mechanics, and of course, the narrative. Tarkov has a rich story within its gruesome and challenging gameplay loop. Sometimes the narrative or what your PMC is actually doing is difficult to remember, especially when your body is experiencing the adrenaline that most Tarkov games give you. Or you could easily skip past the communications after a successful raid. To be fair, I didn't pay any attention to the lore back when I started playing in 2018, and yes, I'm going to take out my credentials now. In no way am I good at this game, so let's get that out right off the bat. But I am decent at researching topics, and I have two eyes. For a game that prides itself on its visual storytelling and a renewed focus at the quests, I think there is a lot to explore, especially within the maps themselves. Even though I have my qualms with the developers about marketing strategies and certain decision making at a business level, what BSG has created and still add on to is striking. I want to make this distinction now because focusing on the interesting and obscure is part of the reason why I keep coming back to this game. A game, mind you, that I've lost some keyboards over, have had multiple 10-hour play sessions where I haven't moved an inch, almost euphoric happiness after completing some raids, and then sheer depression on the scale of unironically F4ing and uninstalling the game after. Now, we're a one-person and dog production team. If I miss something that you find important to the lore, map, you name it, let Poe and I know down in the comments below. Customs is the starter map, no matter if Ground Zero is supposed to be it. Customs has evolved beautifully over the years because at first, it didn't have a great flow. Do you see this? Do you see the bottleneck craziness? Not only were spawns some of the worst in the game, but half the raids spawned in on Big Red. It was always absurd. But Big Red isn't just a slaughterhouse for low-level PMCs. There's actually two really interesting quests that you'll pick up at the start of the game. The quest Delivery from the Past and Bad Rep Evidence from Purpore the Trader will task the player with going to this high-trafficked area. The Trader Purpore doesn't trust you at the start of the game and won't say what's in the secure folder. It seems from the dialogue that he just wants to see if you can jump through hoops when he tells you to. Purpore gives a little bit more information to the player about Bad Rep Evidence, where he shares that the secure folder 0031 has something to do with evidence, quote-unquote, against the terror group, an organization we'll talk at length about in later videos. Conquering Big Red is still a big deal for me. I don't know, nothing's changed, right? And if you can do agility course laps on the rooftops of storage, well, you're him. Another thing that hasn't changed in customs for the last 8 years is how you cross over to the other side. Now, I've always enjoyed this ravine crossover, not because it's safe, actually it's far from that, it's super dangerous, but the fact that the Tarkov level designers are like, yeah, we're just gonna put this in. Like, you won't find this in another competitive shooter. Probably for multiple reasons. But whether it's the customs expansion into the manufactories, showing off the capabilities of the Tarkov economic zone before the incident, or the constants of the map that have been there for the last 8 years. But I didn't say it was easy to traverse. For a starting map, the angles are wild coming out of the ravine. You'll see destroyed UN and military vehicles lining the road, and watch out for those damn scavs on the rooftops. Seriously, how do they get up there? They must be lonely. Construction is another classic area that has seen a glow up in the past couple of years. There are a lot of buildings now to duck into, and you'll need to remember the layouts since scavs and PMCs will be running around most of the time. Map knowledge is one of the most crucial aspects of Tarkov, but trying to figure out where each door goes, or I guess remembering them, can be difficult. Luckily, the next important area of customs is a bit more open. Welcome to the Stronghold. The Stronghold has a lot of loot for a PMC, or a scavvy scav. After Tarkov descended into a quarantine multi-international mess, this industrial ruin was redone, and became the fortress for scav raiders headed by Reshala, controlling the northern customs area and other supply routes through the industrial zone. Sadly, there isn't a lot of lore about Reshala and his crew. The most I know about him and his guards are they kill me quickly at the next location we're headed to, the dorms. Now, dorms are the symbol for old school PvP in Tarkov, and if we reference the map before the expansions, you'll understand why.
I am inevitable.
Dorms is another sort of simplistic design with so much intricacy within the physical level design that veterans will have a distinct advantage here. Whether that's a window to shoot scavs outside, long hallways to take out PMCs inside, or taking the leap getting out of dodge, oh shit. Dorms always knows how to throw a party. Also, there has to be a safer job than a taxi driver in Tarkov. I mean, what? He's just waiting around for some bloodied PMC to give him 5,000 rubles? Lore-wise, Dorms is pretty important for a bunch of quest lines that go through it, and the visualization of the gangs of Tarkov going after each other. Yeah, we had nothing to do with this one.
There was a firefight!
Sorry, I should have distinguished between the 3-story dorms and the 2-story dorms. See, this is where I spent most of my days learning Tarkov, or I guess hearing the John Woo-esque gunfights emanating from across the courtyard, and waiting until 6 minutes left in the raid to pick up the scraps. 2-story dorms also has one of the therapist quests that the player can accomplish early on, finding the 206 key and locating a hidden water stash. On the surface, this is just a routine beginner's quest, but if you read into it, it's a little bit more complex. Therapist talks about some contamination in the Tarkov water supply, but qualified people are there to fix it apparently. Whoever is qualified for that. Therapist is tipped off there are water barrels locked away in the 2nd-story dorms and wants to steal it, stating, "We need that water more than they do." Damn, welcome to Tarkov. The next area we'll mosey onto is Old and New Gas Station, and Jaeger, another trader, has this quest called Rite of Passage. Damn right, Pepperidge Farm remembers when scavs would only spawn at these places. These were and are iconic places on the map, both having unique elements that changed up the flow of the level regardless if you were coming from the east or west. Old Gas has this old iconic train overhang that's perfect for shooting scavs. Pew pew, pew pew. Plus, if you see green next to the Old Gas, you're in luck. This exfil has saved me more times than I can count. Thank you, random person deploying the flare or unlocking the door. I don't know how it works. Firefights here always felt overwhelming. I didn't know which entrance to cover, and you could be swarmed easily. Plus, grenades can be just thrown in haphazardly. There are 3 major warehouses on the other side of the fence, all with a lot of loot, so if the journey over wasn't so giving, you'll fill up now. There are still sniper scavs on the rooftops here, so please be vigilant. You can also spot the singular rail car, which starts the quest line Chemicals for S.T.A.L.K.E.R. And this shows off the darker side of Tarkov, or at least what was going on before the incident. S.T.A.L.K.E.R. informs the player that the former deputy head of security for 2 sensitive zones in the area has been recognized by one of his henchmen, and tasks the player with finding the documents folder that the deputy apparently sleeps with. The ensuing questline enlightens the player that the terror group was up to something nefarious, as we find secretive notes with their company's name on it, accompanied by a flash drive that contains the chemical formula for some reaction process. That's not too damning on the surface, but when S.T.A.L.K.E.R. says he already has a buyer lined up for the mysterious chemicals, which other traders, therapists, and rapport object to, and we'll get through the trader interpersonal relationships another time. Also, you can learn through S.T.A.L.K.E.R. the terror group produced this chemical before the incident in Tarkov, and you can find the barrels scattered around almost every single map. Their purpose, we don't know yet. For now, we're ducking and diving our way to the repair shop. I don't know why I like the repair shop so much as a building. Maybe because it was part of the first expansion where they added these stairs. Yeah, I guess I get excited about video game stairs. It's like watching a plant for the last 7 years have a wild development cycle. Regardless, the repair shop shows off the interiors that BSG designers are trying to pull off, and you can't say they aren't unique. It adds so much character to an industrial site by name, a used and breathing area in-game. Huh, that rhymed. Luckily, if you survived this journey with me through Big Red, crossing the ravine, construction, stronghold, dorms, old, new gas station, warehouses, you name it, you've made it to ZB1011 and are safely back in your hideout. And that does it for us for this episode of Tarkov Lore. What are some of your favorite memories of customs as a map? Any 1v5s you want to regale us with? Or is there something about the level design that you truly feel passionate about? And if I left out any lore bits that you find important, please let me know. I hope you enjoyed the video today, and I look forward to the next one. I'm also open to any suggestions about what I should focus on lore-wise in Tarkov. I feel like the maps were a good starting point. And as always, see you next time.
Shake it, shake it, shake it, shake it.